Hey, welcome to CTO Studio. This week we talked to Vieux, CTO of Casual Fridays, about building your apps on the Facebook API.
Well, I have a wonderful electronic invention I want you to see. It looks something like this.
Welcome to the CTO Studio. I'm your host, Etienne de Bruin. The CTO Studio is where we chat with CTOs building amazing products with incredible teams. Have you chatted with a CTO lately? Vieux,
Hello.
Welcome to the CTO Studio.
Thank you.
We're being live streamed.
Excellent.
No,
No? All right.
not yet.
Okay. I can help you with that.
I know. Do you think social media marketing should include live streaming at all times?
Not at all times, but there are definitely times that are good for it.
Is video the new frontier?
Video's hot. People are consuming more and more video, and
Isn't it hard work to consume video?
no, I think people find it easier than reading. They just sit back. You can passively watch, and if you want to have it silent, if it's captioned, it's great. You can read along with the captions, but you don't have to try to digest anything actively. That's why people become couch potatoes, right? Sit back and watch.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people lately tell me they don't like watching videos.
If I'm out looking for a specific piece of information or trying to learn a new skill, I personally don't find the videos to go, usually they just don't go fast enough for me, right? I find myself wishing they were on double speed because I'm waiting and waiting for the info that I want. I'd rather have the transcript that I can quick search for the search term that I'm looking for.
Actually, that's a good point. Learning a new skill. I heard someone tell me that the exact same thing the other day. Was it you?
No, it wasn't me.
Because they said it's too slow and they wish they could just get to the points and just nail it.
Yep.
Does that mean that you should take a 15-minute long training video and just turn it into like a 60-second get to the point kind of video?
It's tough, right? If you're trying to be entertaining and you have stuff where you really need to cover a lot of things, but you can do it in an entertaining way, I think it can work, and it can be longer. You can cover all those things. If the material is not super exciting and you're not making it super exciting, then honestly, I'd rather just probably read it and get to the point.
This interview is being videoed.
Great.
Do you think so it kind of falls into the category of it's not spicy enough, right? It's just two cats talking.
Should I dance?
Can you make it?
We do a little dance here and then will that get the attention?
Maybe we should say that right now something's happening and then entice people to go watch the
flip
video.
over to the video? No.
So you're the CTO, co-founder of Casual Fridays.
CTO of Casual Fridays, co-founder of Tack. And Casual Fridays, my business partner and I run a social media marketing agency that works with a lot of hospitality and entertainment clients. Everything from social strategy to publishing to community management to advertising. And we've got a remote team across the US on that. And then Tack is a software product born out of a lot of pain that we had at the agency. And Tack allows marketers to go out and request legal permission to use content that people are posting on Instagram and repurpose that content for their marketing. So provides a really great feedback loop and a content source for marketers.
So I'm at the pool at the Marriott. Can I name names?
Sure.
I mean,
Anywhere.
As anywhere. And I am filming my kid jumping up and down in this crazy looking pool. They contact me and say, hey, we saw this incredible video. We want to use it. And then Tack provides that brokerage.
Right. The platform for doing that. Of course, you could do some of those things directly on the platform. So somebody could reach out on Instagram and manually keep track of that. But it becomes really difficult to do at scale. As soon as you start making more than one or two requests, all of a sudden you're checking back. Who said yes? Where do I put the media? Who's going to download that video? How do I even get it downloaded from Instagram? And having a tool to manage that workflow streamlines a lot of that activity. And we can start providing interesting analytics and insights. For example, who are people with lots of influence or people that are frequently mentioning you? And you might not catch all the times that you were mentioned over the last 3 months, but hey, I've got several people that mention me almost every week. They're a loyal customer at my store. They're a loyal guest on property. And we can surface those kinds of things easily for brands and businesses that are listening.
Although Tack is more about the permission request feature side of it. It's not really the uncover the highly influential people.
So that's where we started, was with the permissioning around user-generated content and that workflow, making that a really successful workflow to pull that content that your customers and your audience are already creating and talking about, and making you part of that conversation and allowing you to use that content as part of your community building and marketing activities. But we've also seen a growth around, I hate to use the word influencer. It's loaded. It's a loaded term. So I'm not talking necessarily about somebody with 10 million followers, but somebody like you that's at a pool, you're taking photos, they're great photos or they're great videos. You're influential within your group of people. There's a lot of people here in San Diego, for example, that know who you are and look up to you and say, hey, well, Etienne and his family enjoyed that. Hey, we'd probably enjoy that too. And surfacing
so not at celebrity level, but just at local influence.
But at local and the smaller influencers, there's been a real rise in how do you tap into that, loyalty and advocacy that people already naturally have, get them to continue sharing on your behalf, encourage them to share on your behalf. So there's quite a few things that we're doing with Tack to help better facilitate that and influencer or content creator type work.
And then is it the monetization model then for me as the influencer?
Yeah, so
I get so the hotel reaches out to me through Tack,
mm-hmm.
and then is there like a bid for sort of using my photos, or?
So we haven't. We've seen some products that have looked at going with that approach. Typically, there's so much great content out there that the value to go through a negotiation and then they're going to give you $1, or even if they gave you $3, was it worth the time that everybody went back and forth to agree on what to do? I think the value on individual small pieces of content is difficult to do at a microtransaction level, but for content creators that are consistently building creative, interesting, unique content, partnering with brands is exciting for them, and there is a way to monetize that. Typically, they work in a little bit larger package, so it's not like I want to buy that one photo from you. It might be something more like, we'd love to work with you, and say it was a hotel, we'd love to give you a free weekend. We'll give you a $100 spa credit, a food and beverage credit, stay for 2 nights with us, just experience everything, and we'd love for you to take some great photos, post about it, and then give us a set of those photos at the end of your stay that we can use kind of an ongoing basis.
And then and what role did Tack play in that whole exchange?
So one of the things that we're starting with to build out in Tack is the initial identification. Who are these people that are regularly or already talking about your brand that might be good candidates to partner with for that kind of content creation work? And then managing those campaigns. We've had a lot of interest from existing clients that managing the logistics of those campaigns and then reporting on them is difficult. So, hey, who's going to be there? When are they going to be there? What are they expecting? And then at the end, how much reach did they get with those posts? How much engagement did they get on their content? And where are all those photos that they took? And being able to easily capture that into one workflow and streamline it. Today, a lot of that happens on email on an ad hoc basis. And again, really difficult to manage those workflows when they're all unique and they're all happening via email. So we think there's some interesting things we could build there to really help streamline and simplify that workflow.
That's fascinating. And I've seen you basically go from idea to production on this. So congrats. It's great.
Been exciting.
What if we can switch gears a little bit? You've spoken to us quite a bit on everything from social media marketing tools and strategies to just Facebook ad management and all that, to the CTO that is maybe helping the C-suite think of ways to get their products out there, their SaaS products. What are like the go-to thing, and I'll put you on the spot a little bit. What are like the top 2 or 3 things that are sort of no-brainer in your world that you should be doing that might not be as obvious to us who are in the trenches. I guess we should do a Google AdWord campaign. I guess we should do Facebook ads. Like we spoke about earlier, is video a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Just if you were to say, well, these are the top 2 or 3 things I would recommend to anybody. If you're not doing that, then you're doing absolutely nothing.
I'd say, the biggest thing is to think about your customer lifecycle and your customer journey outside and beyond just what they're doing in the product, but that included, and really incorporate that into your product development plan and your technical roadmap. So a lot of times we tend to get overly focused on the feature, this next feature that's going to happen, and then, they'll be able to do this one thing in the product, and we're building those one after another as quick as we can. But those individual features, most of the time, one of those alone isn't what's going to make you successful. That's not going to make or break the success of the business because you had that one particular feature and it worked that much better than it did before. So thinking about that customer journey, all the way from their first touch points, how are they first finding out about your product? So can you put things on your marketing website to track? And there's a number of different tools, but at a minimum, say Google and Facebook pixels, you're tracking those audiences. You're seeing what kinds of content are they consuming from your marketing site. You can already understand those segments better before they even get to your product. So by the time they're even thinking about signing up for the product, you already know, hey, here's somebody who's consumed all the content, who's read all the things. I can welcome them back when they're coming to sign up versus treating them like an anonymous brand new user who's never heard of us before, right? So being able to personalize some of that content that you're putting in front of them. And then when they're in the product, taking action and using the different features. And then even after they've potentially canceled their subscription, being able to understand who they are, what segment they fell into, and be able to tailor your marketing messages to them. Hey, do I want to go back after them and say, hey, why did you cancel? Would love to have you back. Here's a coupon. Or, hey, we see you haven't used this new feature, and kind of knowing that it's an upsell. Hey, here's how you use this feature. Here's how it could be beneficial to you. Great. Now maybe they want to upsell that, but you can't do it unless you've been tracking your customer journey through the product.
I like that. So even as CTOs potentially of smaller companies, to say it's not customer acquisition. How do we get someone from zero into our product so we can demonstrate traceable growth? But it's that customer development journey, which is like, hey, the person who's going to eventually sign up for our product is X number of steps away. So let's just meet them where they're at through these different tools.
Yep. Yeah. And so there's some really great tools out there that allow you to not only track some of that information, but then personalize your content based on it and how you're presenting the product to them. But it definitely takes thought, right? How do you model that? What does the data look like? What are the events that are really important for your customers and for you to understand so that you can put those pieces of instrumentation into the product and understand, or your website, and know that, hey, I've captured the right moment and the right piece of data about what happened.
Are there some tools that you can recommend just off the bat, sort of?
Sure. So from a tracking perspective, overall, one of the tools that we use and I love is Segment. So that helps in some ways similar to Google Tag Manager, in that you can put a number of different tracking pixels or turn on a number of different pieces of JavaScript on your site without having to go recode the site. You can just go turn it on within the platform. But Segment enables some more sophisticated data routing and tracking and data warehousing that you can do. Makes it very easy to test out new products and see how they work in conjunction with your website. So big fan of Segment. A new one that just launched recently called RightMessage, and they have some RIGHT message.com. And they actually will help you with some of the things I was mentioning earlier, like changing the welcome bar at the top of the web page, or even some content on the web page itself.
Based on previous visits.
You're anonymous, you've never been here before, or, oh, hey, you've opened all of our emails, do you know us really well, or you've previously purchased from us and you're an existing customer, and being able to tailor that message for the next part of their journey based on who they are dynamically.
So I'm assuming that integrates then with some CRMs out there. Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Great. Are you comfortable with talking about the Facebook API?
Sure.
So I'd love to address what impact it had on Casual Fridays, and then how you mitigated that crisis and where you are today.
Yeah. Yeah. So the biggest impact really was for Tack and the work that we're doing from a software perspective, from an agency and strategy and ads perspective. Absolutely, there've been changes and they've adjusted things, but that type of work has been relatively similar to what we were doing 6 months ago. They really made some significant changes related to the Cambridge Analytica debacle and the increased focus on privacy. Funny enough, a couple months later, of course, GDPR came into effect here on May 25th. So as they've been approaching these changes, they've made a lot of shifts to reduce the amount of information that's available through their API and change how their API works. There previously was a Instagram-only API that's been around for a long time, since Instagram was an independent company, and they've deprecated that API. In fact, they accelerated that deprecation and really forced everybody to switch over to the core Facebook API, which long-term is clearly a understandable approach, right? They've got their support resources, their development resources, all in a standardized API structure now and infrastructure to maintain and manage and document and support that. So it made sense for them to do that, but they took away a lot of features that brands and businesses were relying on through third-party tools.
What were those? What were those features?
Yeah, so one of them,
your cousin's mother's dog's favorite dog food.
Sure. So, for example, on Instagram, we would allow you to reach out on a particular hashtag or a particular location tag, see the content that was posted there, and leave comments on it or interact with the people that were posting photos at that location. Might be your place of business, for example, or a hashtag that you've encouraged people to use by saying on all of your packaging, share with this particular hashtag. Now they've done that. You want to go out and interact with them. And that was possible before. Today, you can't do that anymore other than inside the native application or on Instagram.com's website. But through third-party tools, you can't immediately see a post out there and decide, I want to share a comment on it.
In other words, the Facebook API will not reveal anymore who posted it where on which hashtag.
They won't give you that content from that hashtag or location.
But they will give it to you. I mean, you can see it obviously in their apps.
In the app. Yeah. So that has made a significant dent in the amount of spam on the platform, because it's not easy for people to misuse the API and go out and blast comments on all sorts of photos or like all sorts of photos. So their philosophical approach, I think, has been more towards, hey, were you invited to this conversation? So now, if your handle is tagged on a photo in the caption or a comment on Instagram, you can now reply to that. You can't like it. So again, no mass liking of photos. But if you want to have a conversation with somebody, as long as they've tagged you or mentioned your handle, then you can reply back to them and have a conversation
via
with
the
them.
API.
Via the API.
Yeah, so that I can see how that's had a major impact then on what Tack was able to offer, right?
It did, but they also added a great new API where they will now notify third-party tools every time you are mentioned or in a caption or a caption or a comment. And that wasn't available before. So previously, if you were on Instagram.com or in the app, you'd see maybe the last 50 or so mentions. But as you can imagine, that's not scalable to come in every day and look through where you got mentioned, and it's mixed in with people that are commenting and liking. And if you're of any size, all of a sudden it's just scrolling off before you even see it. So with the change, they'll now notify us whenever your handle is mentioned in a caption or a comment, and we can store that. So now there's a scalable way to manage the fact that we have clients that get 50 plus mentions a day. And if they come in, they can see those in Tack and see, hey, here's where I was mentioned, and reply if they want to reply.
But will they see who mentioned you?
So they will get the username. But again, part of their privacy focus is that they will not get the full name.
Emails and...
Certainly no email, no avatar photo.
Which was possible
previously.
Okay.
No follower accounts. So for all personal accounts, with business profiles though, so if you have a business profile mentioning you, they do have a way for you to get information about follower count and the profile picture and the full name of the business profile that's following you.
So the way you've recovered from this is to just take what they have made available now and sort of reintegrate that somehow?
Yeah, so we've shifted a little bit in that instead of being able to easily go out by hashtag or location, for example, first, our first priority is the inbox everywhere you're mentioned. So that's a new piece of functionality. And for some of our clients is amazing because they were getting a lot of mentions before and they couldn't track them. And they would have to go out by location or hashtag and try to just find as many relevant things as they could. So being able to get everywhere that you're mentioned was a huge win. So that inbox is big. And then for people that do need to go out by a location and look at the content, we can give you a quick link bookmarked over to Instagram.com. And you're welcome to make all of your comments there directly on Instagram.com. And again, if someone replies to you, usually they've then included your handle. Now your handle was mentioned in a comment, and now it can come back into Tack and go through the rest of the normal flow. We can keep track of who approved what, when it was approved, where it is in your media library, and keep the rest of the workflow really the same.
So just to kind of bookend this conversation, what advice do you have for founders or tech people who are wanting to integrate with Facebook API? To consider going down the road, and I'm sure as CTO, you're having to reassure your team about sort of what's coming down the pike and what new risks you're embracing by building your whole business sort of around that platform, your Tack business. So how are you sort of reassuring your team with the technology alignment, and then what advice do you have for someone who wants to today start a business that integrates so deeply with the Facebook API?
I think you would look like any business decision. Where is the value proposition that I've got? Where is that data? Where are those people? How am I going to effectively reach them, right? Of course, whenever you're working with a third-party API, you're always, taking a risk that something's going to happen to that entity that's responsible for providing that third-party API. And that applies across the board, really, even if you're using a reverse geocoding API, whatever it is. Google Maps recently changed the pricing and blew up a lot of things for people that they weren't expecting on the pricing changes. So whenever you use a third-party API, you're making that hopefully informed decision about, hey, here's the cost, here's the risk, here's the benefit that I'll get if we go with this, right? And so like any other third-party API, is that where the stuff is? For a lot of our clients and the marketing challenges that they're trying to solve, a lot of that really beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, high quality content is getting posted on Instagram. So not having a way to reach that or to get at that is a problem for them. Well, here's a way that you get there. And yeah, it means you're going to use the Facebook API to do it.
Do you think this is the beginning of sort of a post-Facebook world? Just kind of philosophically speaking,
from a social media perspective, I think there's certainly going to continue to be newcomer attempts, right, to unseat them. At the moment, and for I think the near term future, they have even if they take a huge, say 20% decline in their audience, it's still an enormous audience. They have an enormous amount of reach, an enormous number of people. Surprisingly, a lot of people don't even associate Instagram or WhatsApp with Facebook at all, even though they own both those platforms. So I think, using that API and as a company, is there going to be activity and value propositions to be found there for a long time to come? Absolutely. Are there going to be some newcomers? Is somebody going to try to break through? Absolutely.
So if you're the CTO running down the street saying don't use Facebook, you're probably missing it.
I'd say maybe you didn't consider where your risks or your benefits, right? I mean, there may be some businesses where, hey, it's a negative and you don't want to use it for various reasons, right? Does it complement what you're trying to accomplish? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
Do you think it changes the way we should run ads on Facebook?
They have made some changes recently around the ads. Big picture trend wise, a lot of people have noticed that the organic reach, or the reach where they're not paying anything and they're just posting things on their page, has been declining over the last 3 or 4 years. Not terribly surprising, as more and more businesses are on the platform, more and more people are on the platform, there's more and more content on the platform. And so when you push stuff out, it's just harder to get people to see it if you don't pay. So not surprisingly, the trend line, I think, shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. There's going to be lower organic reach, and the way you're going to combat that is with good content and then paying money, right?
So if I had a Facebook ad strategy last year, I probably am not changing it terribly this year based on what happened.
Yeah, there's new features and new functionality, new capabilities within it, but the core concepts around a great video and great content that's engaging, it's funny or informative, and being able to take people through a funnel of, hey, I'm aware and I getting to know this particular brand or business or person, and then I'm engaged with them, and now I've got some call to action where I want them to come to the website and purchase something. That's all working pretty much just like it did last year.
Great. So very quickly, I do want to talk about the holy grail for many agencies, which is to incubate and launch a product, SaaS product. So as you've CTO'd that, I'd love to just get a couple ideas and pointers on that. Before we get there, though, just a very quick segue into video on the different platforms. Facebook videos versus LinkedIn videos. I posted a couple LinkedIn videos, selfie style, and I got some comments where people were like, well, that's not very professional. It seems a bit Facebook-y.
Mm-hmm.
Are those just people who don't get it? Or is there a certain style that you should aim for on LinkedIn that is distinctly different from what you would do for the same piece of content on Facebook?
I would always tell a brand or business to be thinking about their audience. So is the audience in general on LinkedIn more of a professional crowd than Facebook? Of course. That's kind of the, ethos there. It's going to be, hey, where's my resume? Here's, the stuff I'm working on, my professional environment. That said, people that appreciate that content or people that get to know your particular brand, they're going to look for that brand consistency, and they're going to enjoy that content wherever it is, regardless of the medium. So I think you should consider your audience. If they like that kind of stuff and that works with them, then hey, sure, you may have a few people that feel like that's not produced enough, but oh well,
they might not be in your audience.
That's fine.
That's good. So can you talk a little bit about the process of incubating your product in your agency? Agencies, obviously, billable hours. It's probably relatively easy to measure ROI, sort of the cost centers. Go into a product, which I speak to so many agencies who are like, well, we're only an agency now because we're really building our product.
Right.
Is it possible for an agency so Basecamp and 37 Signals notwithstanding, how has that process been for you, sort of as a company of humans and an executive team, and sort of what you want to accomplish with Casual Fridays?
Sure. I think we're still on that journey. So I don't know. I certainly wouldn't say I've got the answers for anyone here. But so far on the journey, before I was involved in Casual Fridays and Tack and this marketing space, I did a lot of work in the financial services software space. And that company was a little bit larger, and there was a lot of mix of software and services. And there's a grass is always greener every day for anybody on any side. If you're on the software side, you're like, I would love that quick hit of cash. Look at the implementation or the services team there. Look, it's $100,000 to go implement it. They're getting the cash here in the next couple months. How easy is that? And then they're just done with it and they don't have anything to worry about and they can move on. Of course, on the flip side, they're looking like, oh, look over there on the software side. They, it took them a year, but now they're just sitting back thinking about version 2, watching, the sales team go out, sell it, and bring in all this income and subscription income that's recurring revenue every single month without having to, get down and dirty and roll up the sleeves, right? So both sides, the grass is always greener. Like, I love the quick hit on revenue for these projects I can go do. Man, I love the recurring revenue. I think the long term, recurring revenue is going to win in my book. That's something we're definitely very focused on having or being able to establish for the group. But it's hard. Product development is definitely a challenge, and if you're an agency that's never done it before, definitely you've got there's a long road ahead and a lot to learn about it. Luckily, prior to agency life, I came from that software development and product development background. But the avoiding those impulses to do the custom one-off for that one customer and finding the things that can be generically implemented and reusable across your base is a tough balance to achieve, and it's a tough road to travel, no doubt.
Yeah, and did you outsource any of it? Did you in-house dev it? Did you?
Yeah, we've done a mix. We've done some outsourced work for the things that we knew exactly what we wanted done. A lot of it in-house from a testing and business requirements gathering has been great because our product is so aligned with agency work, and we do have agency clients on it. It's been super helpful to be able to use in-house resources to go, I'd love you to use this. Let me sit down and watch, what you're going to do for the next, few minutes. Tell me why you're doing that, or, tell me more about that pain point. Super easy to have that kind of resource on site or immediately available via Zoom meeting to jump on a screen share and walk through.
Yeah, I spoke with an entrepreneur the other day who's in the services industry, and she told me that she wanted to work on a passive income stream, solopreneur. And she started listing off all these ideas. And being a tech guy, she asked me for my opinion on this app and build that. And I said to her, I listened to her because I didn't know the answer. But the more she was speaking, the more it dawned on me. If you want to build something, keep it as close as possible to what you're already doing, so that you aren't, you're playing in a field that you know the rules, you know the game.
Having domain knowledge is definitely...
And that's what I love about what you guys did.
Definitely helpful.
Vieux?
Yeah.
Anybody inspiring you right now? Books, podcasts, humans? So
one of the podcasts that I love listening to is called Startups for the Rest of Us. And so just along the lines you were talking about there, very focused on bootstrapped startups and being able to, all the different things that need to go into building a business from scratch and the challenges that you face when you're not trying to figure out, hey, how am I going to spend this $2.5 million on a huge group of engineers, but instead, hey, how am I going to grow from 1,000 MRR to 2,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 MRR, and what are the challenges associated with doing that? It's been a really great listen, and love the hosts there. In fact, one of them is the one that founded Drip, which is an email marketing platform that was acquired by Lead Pages, and they consistently full of great advice. Would tell anybody thinking about doing a startup, hey, go start on episode 1, just listen to the whole series.
I love it. And then, did you have any questions for me?
No, I didn't.
Zero. Wow.
You've answered all my questions today.
Thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Have you chatted with a CTO lately? Hi, thank you for listening to the CTO Studio. If you don't mind, take a quick second and please rate and review the show. It helps us a lot. Go to the ctostudio.com for more information on what we're doing at 7 CTOs. We also have a video or two for you that could be a helpful resource for you as you're managing your company. So thank you for listening.